What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Trippy Speaks UFC. And yes, the podcast is back, baby. And look, before we hop straight into it, a quick question for you guys. I had recently got some new equipment for this mic. This mic honestly sucks. The sad thing is that I paid about $40 for this microphone, but it sucks. And so, I got recently this filter that I'm using right now. And, I know a lot of people complain about the audio issues. They're like, man, your microphone sounds scratchy. Please turn down your mic. Your mic is overly loud, blah, 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 blah. And so I got a lot of complaints about the mic. And so I recently got this filter for it. And it sounds a little bit better on my end. But the audio never sounds as bad on my end as it apparently does for you guys. So I want to know what you guys think. I want to know, do you guys think the quality of the audio has changed, whether it's gotten better, or I should take this filter off and just use it how I typically do? I'm going to get a new microphone. My birthday is coming up in a few weeks. And I'm going to try and buy a new one, buy a more expensive one that's going around 70 or 80 bucks. Because, I mean, this one was a bit on the cheaper end, but it's like, it was still a lot for me, because I used to record these videos straight from the iPhone. Like, I used to, like, literally hold it a good distance from my mouth, but it would still do that annoying popping sound. Like, whenever I talk and, like, the air gets into the damn, the speaker, and it literally make that annoying popping sound. And gosh, I would hate that. And so, yeah, I got a microphone, and the audio upgraded, but it still isn't good. You know what I mean? So, let me know what you guys think about this. If you guys still think that the audio is still low quality, then to hell with it. I guess I'll just buy a new microphone. But anyway, let's jump straight into the podcast. Enough rambling. So yeah, so we had a pretty decent fight card last night. I know you guys were pretty pissed off about the co-main event and main event, but honestly, the fight card was pretty damn good. I mean, Michel Pereira versus, I'm sorry, I forgot the other guy's name. But that was an exciting fight. In my opinion, it was that fight or the Moreno versus Figueiredo 3 fight that was in the debate of which one was going to be the fight of the night. And obviously they went with Moreno versus Figueiredo, more of a higher profile fight, I guess. And it was pretty entertaining. Went 5 rounds. A lot of people expected this fight to end in a finish. Seeing how well Figueiredo dealt with the shots, in the first fight, I didn't really see a way, and typically flyweights don't finish each other, but I really didn't see a way that Moreno was going to finish him again unless it was going to be by a submission. Maybe he dropped him again, but honestly, in terms of knockout, I thought that would have been Figueiredo knocking out Moreno, and it almost happened a few times in this fight, so let's jump straight into it. Davis and Figueiredo obviously performed way better than he did the second fight. Way better, much better. Honestly, that second fight was very weird, especially whenever you watch these two fights side by side. Not side by side, but like back and forth. Like you watched the second fight, and then you watched this fight, which is what I did. I watched the second fight before it aired on the pay-per-view broadcast, and I just wanted to see how Figueiredo looked versus how he was going to look tonight. And yeah, and I can say this, that second fight was definitely due to Figueiredo's weight cut. I mean, the guy got chinned by a jab. He got chinned and dropped by a jab. And in this fight, Moreno was landing hard shots. And Davis and Figueiredo got rocked a few times, but he never left his feet. And that really shows me that, bro, honestly, because I thought Figueiredo won the first fight. I really did. I didn't think the second fight should have happened unless they just wanted to do a rematch because it was close. But I thought Figueiredo won the first fight. The second fight, it was more dominant for Moreno. And then this third fight, Figueiredo won, although we have a few people saying that Moreno got robbed. I don't think it was a robbery, because when I was watching it upon first inspection, I watched it at Twin Peaks, which is a local sports bar over here in Fort Worth, where I live, in Texas. And I was watching it at the sports bar, and honestly, from what I've seen it, like, my gut instinct, whenever I first watched the fight, man, I was like, bruh, whenever it went to a decision, it was the final bell. I was like, man, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave this to Figueiredo. I wouldn't be shocked. And a lot of people that I was watching it with, my friend that I was watching it with, she was like, man, honestly, I don't think that if they gave it to Figueiredo, that'd be a robbery, is what she said. And I was like, man, the leg kicks accumulated, guys. Figueiredo landed a lot of leg kicks, and you got to think he dropped Moreno multiple times with leg kicks and dropped him twice with the hands, I believe. So it was a lot of knockdowns going towards Figueiredo's way, even though Brandon Moreno outstruck him, outlanded him in significant strikes, like I believe in every round. Still, what is that? Damage trumps accumulative striking, meaning damage trumps volume striking. So, whenever you look at the judging criteria that way, man, that's how I was viewing it in my head. Obviously, this new scoring system needs some work. It obviously sucks. But, like, man, when I was watching it off first inspection, I was like, bro, like, they might give this to Figueiredo. And then the odd thing for me is that once they did announce Figueiredo as the winner, I was like, man, okay, that's a little weird. But I gotta rewatch it is basically what I'm trying to get to. I gotta rewatch it. And I gotta rewatch it with an objective eye. And really see, like, who actually won. Because a lot of people made the assumption that Moreno won based off of watching the fight live. Whenever I watch the fight live, typically, that is when I'm most accurate. When I watch it live, that is when I'm like, oh, like, off first inspection, I believe that Moreno lost. And then whenever I think back on it and I rewatch it and I really watch every big moment that happened in the fight, like I had to do that with the Covington-Usman fight. Off of first inspection, I thought Usman beat Covington. When I rewatched it, I realized, man, the fight was actually much closer than I thought. It could have been a draw. But ultimately, I did think Usman won. I thought Covington came on a little bit too late. And in this fight, to stay on topic, I thought that it was back and forth for each round. Somebody said Figueiredo won 4-1. I said no way. 3-2, honestly. But the thing that's blurry for me is that I can't tell you which rounds he won. I just know that he won more rounds than Moreno. So is it a robbery? Honestly, as much as I wanted to say it at the time, no, I don't think that this was a robbery. Because you really got to look at it. Figueiredo just outdamaged him. Figueiredo had the bigger moments. Although Moreno was outstriking him and outboxing him for majority of the fight, Figueiredo won. And the odd thing, the most frustrating thing while watching the fight, I would watch Moreno rock Deiveson Figueiredo, but would not advance on him. He'd rock him, watch him wobble, and then just like either point at him or just stand there after he rocked him. I was like, bro, keep punching him. The guy obviously lacks head movement and is a freaking standing punching bag. I hate to say that, but he really is. And he leads with his head. If you guys watch I like his stance, though. I think Figueiredo has a very cool stance. But the guy has very basic head movement. But I will say this. It was improved for this fight. He got out of the way of a lot of punches. But, like, he still gets hit a lot. And I want to see him fight another power puncher. Like, I mean, if you want to consider Kai Kara-France a power puncher, I know he just knocked out Cody Garbrandt, but Cody Garbrandt's very chinny. You know, I think that Kara-France has more power than Moreno is what I'm going to say. And so I would love to see that fight. I think that would be another fight of the night contender because those guys bring it just as much as Moreno and Figueiredo do. So, yeah, you know. And so, yeah, I thought when Cody Garbrandt got the fight with Figueiredo before Moreno did, I thought that Cody Garbrandt had a good chance of beating Figueiredo due to just how much he gets hit. How much Figueiredo gets hit, and Cody is bringing that power down from the bantamweight division. So he was going to have power regardless in that flyweight division. Regardless of if he lost a little bit of it or if he kept it, he was going to have power. He was going to have power. When he hits the flyweights, he was going to get a reaction regardless. He didn't really get to hit Kai Kara-France very cleanly. But you get my point. Although he didn't display it in that fight, I do believe that if he was to crack one of these flyweights, he could do some damage. And I wanted to see that fight because I wanted to see how good Figueiredo's chin was and could he beat a bigger man, you know what I mean? Or Cody isn't even that much bigger than him. Honestly, the same size man, I guess. I don't know. Could he hang with the bantamweights pretty much if he wanted to? If he wanted to move up, could he hang with the bantamweights for a super fight with Peter Yan? After this fight, honestly, I think Peter Yan would kill him, but, you know, it'd be competitive in its own right. What's next for these guys? I keep hearing ramblings of a fourth fight. You know, these guys really sell it well. And there's no big names or stars in the flyweight division. These guys are the big names in the stars in that division. These guys are the draw. And a fourth fight, honestly, whenever I thought of Poirier McGregor having a fourth fight, I thought, man, that's a little ridiculous. We've already seen who the better fighter is. This fight, we don't know who the better fighter is. All the fights have been close. With both of them could have gone each way. Whenever you have fights that are like, man, you have one side saying that it was a clear victory, and then you have another side of people saying that it was a robbery, that's how you know it's a good fight. You know what I mean? Unless it's just extremely boring. Like, you know, Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. So, what's next for these guys? Dude, I don't know. Like, honestly, let Figueiredo fight Kai Kara-France or Moreno versus Kai Kara-France. I don't know, man. There's not a lot of life in that flyweight division. There's just not. Askarov or whatever the hell his name is. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, flyweight is still a dead division, you know? So, yeah, I guess make the fourth fight. That is so tricky because it's like, do the hardcores really want to see a fourth fight? Do the casuals really want to see a fourth fight? Depending that there was a lack of casual audience that watched this one and all three other fights. I don't know. I mean, the UFC could sell it because they've been good fights. I mean, they could sell it. The first ever fourth fight in UFC history, you know, I mean, I guess. But, I mean, whoever wins the fourth fight, if they really do make the fourth fight, whoever wins that fourth fight, I don't care, like, whoever wins, that's it. Whoever wins the fourth fight, they're the better fighter. Move on, please. Let's not make a fifth fight, because then it will get a bit ridiculous. Could you imagine the fourth fight ends in a draw? Oh my goodness. Even then, I'm like, okay, you guys, like, okay, Figueiredo won more of the fights. Let's just not make a fifth fight, please. Oh my gosh, the brain damage. Let's just not do it. So, let's move on. So, here is what you guys have been waiting on, because I seen a lot of angry commenters in my comment section last night saying like, hey, I want you to mention this in the podcast. So let's go ahead and talk about this, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this because this is pretty funny. So my boy, Messy Magician, left me a pretty angry comment last night. He wasn't angry with me, but he was pretty heated about how the fight went and about how the result was, I guess. He basically asked me in a long paragraph, I'm not going to read all of it, but he basically asked me, how can you win a fight by wrestling a guy but laying on top of them and not doing anything? And that got a lot of people mad because Francis Ngannou basically won the fight doing just that. And, dude, okay, I know you guys were heated at the result. I know everybody was mad and they had their opinions, blah, 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 blah. I see a lot of people saying Francis won, and a lot of people saying that Francis did absolutely nothing to win that fight, and this was ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I thought it was one of the most hilarious fights that I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. Hilarious fights that I've ever watched, period. I mean, watching Francis Ngannou gas out after 10 minutes. Honestly, shorter than that. Gassing out after about 7 minutes of fighting. And wrestling Ciryl Gane and body slamming him all over the place and just laying on him. Dude, us in the bar were just cracking up at how ridiculous the fight was. And Francis Ngannou won. And so, I'm going to just say this. Honestly, you guys, like, when the fight comes out and, you know, ESPN releases it and you can watch it, just watch the fight and just really just think about watching that live. Imagine if you were in the arena that night and you watched the heavyweight disaster that was. And this isn't the first time Francis Ngannou laid a goose egg like how he did. Whenever he fought Derek Lewis, although that one was a little less funny, it was still it was this ridiculous. A little more ridiculous, okay. I'm really not. This fight was way more action-packed than Lewis versus Nganu was. I mean, that was probably the worst fight in UFC history. Lewis versus Nganu. This fight was up there, but it wasn't that bad. Like, I'd argue Romero versus Adesanya was way worse than this fight. I mean, I'm pretty sure a few of y'all can agree with me on that one. Like, there's been much more boring fights than this one. Watching it with my friend, honestly, she said that this fight wasn't that boring. It was just a little, like, ridiculous, I guess. But she said it wasn't boring. It was pretty action packed for her, but for me, it was funny, man. I just kept laughing. I just couldn't stop laughing at how ridiculous it was. But boy, we gotta talk about Francis Ngannou. You guys, this is our heavyweight champion, and he can't fight past 8 minutes without gassing out. That is ridiculous. I mean, the dude, I want to say 8 minutes, started looking like an old man in there. I mean, Cyril Gane, when he was striking with Nganu, if Nganu couldn't take Cyril Gane down, Cyril Gane was about to have a field day with him. He was making Francis Ngannou look like an absolute child out there. A novice. He literally made Francis Ngannou look like me out there. If I was fighting. Like, if I was fighting, and I'm not even, I got my fair share of fight experience, but it's like, I'm no professional fighter, and I'm not deluded enough to say that I'm a professional fighter. But genuinely, Cyril Gane made Francis Ngannou look like he was fighting me out there. Like, I feel like that's how I would look if I was fighting Wonder Boy, you know what I mean? And so, just missing and then just throwing just sloppy strikes, just trying to land and then gassing out, you know what I mean? And so, basically, my man needs to fix his cardio, boy. He needs to fix that. After watching that fight, I was like, man, you know what? I went from Francis Ngannou would probably knock out Jon Jones to, man, Jon Jones has a very solid chance of beating Francis Ngannou. Seriously. I don't believe that Jon Jones is as elusive as Cyril Gane is. I mean, Cyril Gane has some of the best defense, some of the best striking defense I've ever seen. The dude just doesn't get hit cleanly. And, no joke, I think Adesanya has been hit more. I would argue Cyril Gane's striking defense is better than Israel Adesanya's, honestly. And so, anyway, I mean, early on, first 2 rounds, Cyril Gane clearly won. Making Ngannou look like a complete novice out there. Looked like he had no business in there with him. And while I was watching, I was like, man, this is easy for Cyril Gane. Like, Francis needs to come up with a plan B because this is easy. He's sitting here gassing out while doing nothing, honestly. The guy was walking towards Cyril Gane most of the time. And early on in that first round, we seen a pretty good game plan coming from Cyril. When Francis got too close to him, Cyril would clinch him, turn his back to the fence, and made Francis work those arms so those arms can fill up with the lactic acid, and Francis would gas out faster because everybody knows Francis Ngannou has the worst cardio in the UFC. The worst cardio I've ever seen in the UFC. And that is not me exaggerating. I am firmly placing that I haven't seen a guy with worse cardio than Francis Ngannou. And that goes for Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis went 3 rounds before gassing out. Francis went 6 minutes. He was gassed. He was mouth breathing at the end of that first round. And so Cyril Gane was making it look easy. I mean, he was bouncing around, hands down, and he made Ngannou eat stiff jabs. I told you that when Francis tries to walk forward on Cyril Gane, he's going to eat a stiff jab. And it's going to hurt him and stop him right in his tracks. And it did. And then after those first 2 rounds, Francis Ngannou, late in that third, then said, okay, I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to wrestle him. He catches a kick off of Cyril Gane. And let's just say this. Cyril Gane landed some pretty good significant strikes. And Ganu has an insane chin. I mean, he ate a spinning head kick to the back, literally to the side of the dome. He just eats it and walks through it. He ate a head kick. He ate a bunch of punches. He ate a 1-2. I mean, the guy just doesn't get hurt or rocked. I mean, seriously. He catches a kick and body slams Cyril Gane after it. And Cyril Gane couldn't get back up to his feet. He just got controlled by Francis Ngannou. And everybody was surprised. And I was pretty surprised, I'm not going to lie. Nobody ever thought that Francis Ngannou would win a fight by decision. Nobody would ever have guessed that. But he did. And so, there's not much to talk about beyond the third round. I mean, he took Ciryl Gane. I believe he landed 4 takedowns, which is big. We got to say that. Like, that's scoring. And all of the takedowns were body slams. And then he laid on him, and a lot of guys were upset with that. And was like, how the heck did he win just by laying on Ciryl Gane? And, dude, first, I'm going to say this. Francis had about, I believe that it was accumulated to about 9 minutes of ground control time. You can't ignore that. You cannot ignore how much ground. I don't care what the rules say. I don't care about, the striking, da-da-da. First of all, since you guys really want to nitpick, Ciryl Gane never landed anything that hurt Nganu. Yes, he landed big significant strikes in the first 2 rounds, but it was nothing significant enough to hurt him or to really sway the judges any other way. And I'm not saying that Francis won this fight fair and square, but I'm just saying that Ciryl Gane really didn't do that much. I'm being real. He really didn't do a crazy amount to make you think, oh my gosh, it's a robbery. So, yeah, and then a lot of people were upset because Francis sat there and laid on him. Dude, okay, think about the fight like this. If you're in a street fight, and let's just say you start off piecing the guy up, like y'all fight for an unlimited amount of time, and there's a crowd, and people are watching, and you're piecing the guy up, let's say you're just out punching him, or whatever the heck. You're piecing him up for the first 10 minutes of your fight, or for the first 3 minutes of your fight, considering street fights don't last that round. So the first 3 minutes of the fight, you're striking him, you're piecing him up, and you're embarrassing him. And then for the last 7 minutes, he body slams you 4 times and lays on you for 7 minutes for the rest of the fight. 7 minutes, he body slammed you 4 times, and then he lays on you for the rest of the fight, and you can't get back up. So who won the fight? Yes, you were beating him up repeatedly, and you were just out punching him, embarrassing him, yeah. But if I take you and I body slam you and you can't get back up to your feet, in my opinion, like, I am imposing my will on you. You can't move. You're not going to get up until I let you up. And in my opinion, that is imposing your will, and that is exactly what Francis Ngannou did. I hate to say it, hate to break it to you, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, Trippy, what the heck are you talking about? But I'm being real. But Trippy, what about the judging criteria? And what about accumulated? Oh my gosh, shut up. Oh, freaking MMA fans, you guys. Okay, yes. The fight could have gone either way is what I'm trying to basically say. Dude, that 9 minutes of ground control, you cannot ignore that. I don't care how much Ciryl Gane landed. And honestly, he didn't ever land anything that was, oh my gosh, he's dominant. Yes, he dominated the first 2 rounds. He didn't dominate the first round, but he definitely dominated the second round. And then he got taken down and laid on for the last 3. And he got taken down 4 times, bigger than being big explosive power slams to the ground. You can't ignore that. And he couldn't get back up to his feet. I mean, another grown man is holding another grown man down. And like I said, that is imposing your will. If I take you down and I body slam you, and I do it 4 times, mind you, and you can't get back up to your feet, I'm just holding you there. You can't get me off of you unless somebody comes and pulls me off of you. I'm winning the fight. That's how I see it. I'm being real. And so, yeah, and, okay, let's talk about that 5th round, because, yeah, that was the deciding round, and I was saying that. I was like, okay, Francis just won the 3rd and 4th, clearly, in my opinion. He won the 3rd and 4th, clearly. And I said, okay, it all comes down to this 5th round. Ciryl Gane shoots in for a takedown, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is the end of the fight. I literally told my friend, I was like, this is the end of the fight. Like, if Francis doesn't get back up, the fight is over. And, Ciryl Gane then goes for a heel hook. And people are saying that was a dumb move, but imagine if he got that, which he almost did. But Francis, too big, too strong, too slippery, got out, and then that was like the first, Ciryl Gane maybe had him in that heel hook for a good minute, 25 seconds at most, and then Francis Ngannou gets out of it, and then lays on Ciryl Gane for the next 3 minutes, 45 seconds. Once again, and then Francis landed baby strikes, outstruck him for that 5th round. But it's like, dude, once again, you guys are going to be upset, and people are asking, how do you win a fight like that? like I said, really genuinely think about it. Yes, you won for the first 3 minutes of that street fight, but the last 7 minutes was me body slamming you and laying on you and not letting you up, holding you against your will on the ground. You can't get back up. And when you do get back up, I power slam you back down. You know? And so, yeah, that's how Francis won. And was it a robbery? No. That's basically what I'm boiling it down to. No, it wasn't a robbery. Ciryl Gane did more, sure. But that ground control, bro, you can't ignore that, man. So, no, it wasn't a robbery, but it wouldn't have been a robbery. Basically, if they would have gave it to Ciryl Gane, it wasn't a robbery either way. A draw, honestly. A draw. Because, yes, Ciryl Gane was embarrassing him those first 2 rounds, but in my opinion, he didn't do enough to, really, say, oh, he won fair and square and it was a clear victory. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It wasn't a clear victory for either guy. Honestly. And so, I guarantee you, had the fight went the way it went and then Gane won, people would be saying that it was a robbery too. So, there you go. In my opinion, if I had to score the fight, a draw. It was a draw. And, any other person that would disagree with me, they had scored for Gane. Okay, cool. But like I said, if the fight would have went the other way, people would be complaining about how it was a robbery for Gane. So, either way, this is the UFC. This is heavyweight mixed martial arts, and this is why we watch it, because it is the sport of the unpredictable. After seeing this fight and seeing Francis Ngannou win a fight by decision, I said, this is the most unpredictable fight, or unpredictable sport that I've ever watched. And I love it. I love this sport because it's so unpredictable. Even how ridiculous the fight was, I like the fact that we can sit here and make as many predictions as we want. We truly don't know what's going to happen until the fight unfolds. And Francis Ngannou won a fight by decision. A 5-round fight. Crazy, man. But, man, I'm going to say this, bro. Let's move on. Because Ciryl Gane has, in my opinion, win or lose, he has proven that he is top 2 heavyweight in the division. I think he could beat Stipe. Honestly, actually, I don't mind Stipe's chances against Ciryl Gane now. After saying Francis Ngannou just wrestle him. But people are saying, oh my gosh, Ciryl Gane has a big hole in his game. He gets taken down too easily. Francis was taking him down. You guys, Francis took Stipe down. Francis is a big, strong guy made of pure muscle. You can't sit here and fault the guy for getting power slammed by a guy who is 70 pounds of pure muscle. And Dana White was pretty pissed. I think he was more so pissed. People were saying the UFC wanted Nganu to lose to Ciryl Gane. Dude, Francis Ngannou is the most promotable heavyweight in that entire division. He's a big, giant black guy from Africa who knocks guys out with one punch. Yes, the fight went a very sour way, but dude, he is one of the most marketable champions that you have. People are going to pay to see that guy fight. Ciryl Gane, his style, yeah, sure, heavyweight that moves like that, not as promotable as Ngannou, though. People are going to sit there and watch this guy knock people out. Not sit there to watch Gane point fight, necessarily. So, so as for Ngannou, bro, dude has got to fix his cardio, man. And maybe now they make the John Jones fight. Although people are just not clamoring for it anymore. But honestly, that's who I want to see next. Who would you fight next? If Derek Lewis knocks out Tai Tuivasa, I can see them throwing Derek Lewis back up there to have a rematch with Francis Ngannou. Because that'll sell. Trust me, that'll sell. 2 big, giant black guys who knock each other out with one punch. That's going to sell, dude. And then I could see a Stipe rematch if they don't go with Jones. And then you look down, there's not a ton. And then, dude, slowly but surely, if he rematches Ciryl Gane and beats him again, slowly but surely, I see Francis Ngannou being very hard to beat. Especially after this. Let's talk about this. Because people are like, oh my gosh, Ciryl Gane won. Okay, I get it, yeah. But had Francis, what I was thinking was had Francis wrestled by the second round, and he was just taking Gane down like this before he completely gassed out and had no wind, because he was taking Gane down at will while gassed out. And so, if Francis would have went to the wrestling earlier, he would have dominated the fight. That's crazy to think about. He would have probably wrestled Gane and took him down, power slammed him, and laid on him for 4 straight rounds, and we wouldn't be talking like this. Francis has developed a new tool, and now that this guy can wrestle while gassed out, and we see that he has a clear wrestling game now, who is going to beat him? But just because he's the wrestler doesn't mean that he can't be out-wrestled. So, I don't mind Jon Jones' chances against him, honestly. Jon Jones survived 2 rounds, lays on him, and Jon Jones has a legit submission game and could legitimately submit Francis Ngannou in the 3rd round and become heavyweight champion and be the undisputed, unarguable, non-debatable GOAT in MMA. I already think he's the GOAT. He would be undoubtedly the GOAT after he beats Francis Ngannou. And you'd be silly to debate it. But okay, we sat here and talked about this for a really long time. Should we move on to the questions? I think we should move on to the questions, yeah. Okay, so now that I'm checking back, apparently it's been a month since the last time I made a podcast. Wow. Oof. Okay, so a month ago, Dragon's Rage, if you see this, you asked the question, if Nate were to fight Francis Ngannou, what advice would you give him? And you said, no, I'm kidding. Okay, good, because I was like, dude, come on. And then you ask, Francis versus Lewis 2, who wins, or should I say, who gets Tyron Woodley? Sorry, I had to. Okay, so Francis versus... Dude, after seeing Francis's insane chin against Cyril Gane, dude, I think literally... Basically, it'd be who can take more shots off the other guy. I think that it'll be likely Derek Lewis wouldn't be able to take Francis's hardest shots, and Francis would be able to take Derek's hardest shot. So that is literally basically what it'd be. I know a lot of people would say double KO. Nah, bro. I think it'd be a Francis Ngannou TKO pretty early. I think 1st round. 1st exchange. Maybe Derek gets the best of the 1st exchange, rocks Nganu, but I just don't think that Derek would be able to knock him out with hands. After seeing Francis Ngannou literally eats a flush head kick and spinning back kick from Cyril Gane, I don't think that Derek could land anything with his hands that could knock Francis Ngannou out senseless. I just don't think. But I could see Francis Ngannou knocking out Derek Lewis, considering Derek Lewis has been TKO'd before. And Francis hasn't. So, yeah. So, I think that it'd literally be Francis would be able to take Derek's hardest shot, and Derek wouldn't be able to take what Francis could deliver back. So, I would go with Francis Ngannou by a 1st round TKO. Yeah. Okay, so I believe we have one more question. And that is due to the fact that it's been so long that I've made a podcast, and a lot of people didn't leave a lot of questions at the end of the last one. And, from what I've seen, this guy, Messy Magician again, he left one 8 days ago on my Jorge Masvidal video. So if I've missed your podcast and maybe you commented a question for the podcast under a random video that I made and I didn't see it, my apologies. If you guys want your questions featured in the next podcast, you already know what to do. Leave your comment under this podcast and I will like it to let you know that your question will be answered in the next one. But it's important you leave it under this one. Do not leave them under random videos because there's a chance that I might miss it or skip over it. Because whenever I look to answer these questions, I go back on the old podcast. Even if it's been a while, comment your question under the old podcast. Even if it's like, okay, I've made other videos since then and it's been a while, okay? So, but I happen to see Messy Magicians. So, I'm gonna answer his question. He says, "What's up, Trippy? My question for the next podcast is, what do you think about Volkanovski versus Islam at lightweight? And also, how do you see Volkanovski matching up with the top 10 lightweights if he ever moved up?" Honestly, bro, I'm going to go ahead and answer it like this. I don't see the hype with Volkanovski at lightweight. I just don't. I don't think that that's a good move for him, especially against Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev demolishes him. Just takes him down, controls him, smashes him, could beat him on the feet if he wanted to. Islam is just much bigger than him and is a far better grappler than him. I think that is a very tough fight for Alexander Volkanovski. I don't even see a good chance for him on the feet. Maybe he gains extra power and becomes like a knockout artist at 155. Alexander Volkanovsky isn't even a knockout artist at 145. So it's like maybe he could carry some more power at 155, but I doubt it, man. And he's not that big of a guy for 155. He wouldn't be. So it's like, dude, and then against the top 10 lightweights, I think he gets beat by most of them. I'm looking at the top 10. I think he gets beat by every single one. And I actually favor his chances against guys outside of the top 15, actually. Because, I mean, Rafael Fiziev, absolutely, Alexander Volkanovsky has nothing on the feet for Fiziev. Nothing. He get destroyed. And his wrestling, I know a lot of guys, he's very well versed. Volkanovski is very good. He's very well versed, very, very well rounded. Possibly the most well rounded fighter in the UFC if Petr Yan didn't exist. But it's I don't see a lot of success at lightweight for him. I mean, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. Oh my gosh, that's a nasty matchup for him. Considering Alexander Volkanovski, when he gets hit cleanly, based off the evidence, he gets dropped. I mean, you look at his past fights. Max Holloway dropped him, out of all people. Max Holloway is not a power puncher, and he dropped Volkanovski 3 times, I believe? Twice. And yeah, and these 155ers are going to crack him, man. He got dropped by Chad Mendez. He got dropped by Brian Ortega. I mean, the guy gets hit, and he gets dropped. And he's a tank of a man, and he's very well versed, like I said. Very strong for that featherweight division, so it works well for him in the featherweight division, but not moving up, bro. I mean, look at this. Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler's a nasty one for him. Justin Gaethje's a nasty one for him. Islam Makhachev's a very tough fight. He gets dominated by Charles Oliveira. Are you kidding me? I mean, yeah, look at all these guys, man. He's outsized, and the power isn't necessary, and the wrestling isn't going to make much of a difference. Not going to lie. And when I say outside, I think that he could beat, if Al Iaquinta didn't retire, he could possibly beat Al Iaquinta. He could possibly beat Tony Ferguson, just take him down and lay on him. That's about it, man. Yeah, man, a lot of people are saying he could beat Conor. I don't believe that. I do not believe that he could beat Conor. Conor's wrestling is so underrated. I think that he'd be able to stuff the shorter guy and Alexander Volkanovski's takedown, the much smaller guy. He'd stuff his takedowns, and I just believe that he'd land one good clean punch and crack him. And just be able to, I just believe that Volkanovski would have a tough time entering on Conor, and he gets cracked a few times. Even if he doesn't get knocked out by Conor, he gets cracked enough and gets dropped multiple times, he's going to respect that power and not try to enter in on Conor all recklessly. So, yeah, I don't think that he really stands a chance in terms of winning the title at lightweight. I don't see the hype there. I think he gets beat by most of these guys. Harsh truth. So, if you guys enjoyed this podcast, let me know what you guys think, and leave your comments, questions, and everything else in the comment section below. If you want your question featured on the next podcast, leave your questions under this podcast, and I will like your comment, and that's how you know if your question will get featured in the next one. And typically, I answer all the questions, unless they're ridiculous. Like, I usually avoid the sexual ones. Like, some of you guys ask me, like, what UFC fighter I'd smash, or whatever the hell. Typically, I don't. That's the only type of questions I'll, won't answer. Because I'm like, okay, it's a little ridiculous. If they're just too ridiculous, I won't answer them. But typically, I answer all of them, so